In 2025, I made some decisions that are gonna make me millions of dollars. On this solo episode of It's Not That Deep, I'm gonna be talking about some of those decisions and just kind of in a free flowing format, just talk some shit. Now, one of the big things in 2025 that just dramatically changed my life for the better is making the decision to move out of Miami. Now, I've beaten this topic to death in previous videos, and I can link those here if you want to, kind of understand the rationale why. But one of the biggest reasons for that is I really felt like I was spiritually out of alignment in Miami at that stage in the year. Obviously, there's a financial reality to living in Miami, especially South Beach, and just the expenses there alone. You know, we had calculated it's about, I don't know, something like 8K USD a month personally in expenses. Coming down to Medellin, that's dropped down well over 50%. And I'm able to take some of those savings and invest it back into the team, the brand, everything, into building out the right systems, into having space to breathe and make better, higher quality decisions as the leader of the company. And so, obviously, I've talked about the Miami decision before, but on a spiritual plane, what's really made that decision just make a lot more sense to me since coming down here is I just feel lighter. I feel like I have a stronger intuition and relationship with the universe because I'm not just focused on survival so much. I'm finally able to kind of zoom out and just see the forest from the trees, and that's just been absolutely incredible for me. And so some of the things that's really stood out, I mean, recently, um, I've kind of taken a break from drinking alcohol. So this is something that, I'm not gonna say that I'm an alcoholic, but I'm gonna say that, I enjoy drinks a little bit too much and too often. It's starting to feel like it was not just for fun anymore. It was kind of for an escape. I was using it as a way to relax. I was using it as a crutch, and I was justifying it by, well, I work so hard during the day. I push so hard all the time on business, on training, on the show, the podcast, everything. I'm like, well, I had to kind of reevaluate this relationship. I don't think it's actually serving me and my highest self. And so about 3 weeks ago, I decided to kind of take a break from that substance and reevaluate my relationship with it. And in those 3 weeks, it has been insane how good I feel, like mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And I'll kind of go through that a little bit. I mean, that first week, I'm not gonna lie, I was I was irritated. I was a bit of an asshole. I was very short fused. I feel like I had a bit of a temper. And I feel like a big part of that is like it just withdrawing from your system, but also not having a way to quote unquote relax. That's a lot of the way I was using alcohol was in a social setting around friends and people that I really care about to let my shoulders down, to just kind of chill out. It became this natural, or I guess not so natural, way to separate my crazy, hectic work life with my chill, social evening life. I was never someone, I mean, I don't really enjoy drinking alone. I always felt like that, like, for me personally, that felt a little sad. Yeah, I've never been someone who, like, wakes up and has a bottle of vodka or something like that. Like, I never felt like I had that type of issue. But what I was starting to feel like was I didn't feel like I could relax without it. And that's when I had to kinda, like, pump the brakes a little bit and reevaluate my relationship with, that substance. And I've been just feeling like I have so much more energy. I've been working out like twice a day with all this extra energy. I've been performing better, not only, in the gym and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but also with work. I feel like I'm making more clear decisions. I don't have that brain fog or that anxiety the next day. I just feel like I'm performing better in every area of life. Emotionally, I feel like I'm feeling my feelings a lot more and not just running away from them. I feel a lot more intuitive with the food I put into my body, the information that I put into my mind, all of these different diets. I feel like just cutting out the alcohol has really, really prompted me to examine everything. And there was like a very clear moment of when I decided to kind of stop this or take a break from this substance. And I was on a call with my health coach, Andres Brechel, my good friend and client and health coach. And he called me out. And dude, I love it when people call me out because I feel like a lot of people are afraid to call me out. And so I love when people do it. But he's basically just like, Deep, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, every time we get on these calls, like, your nutrition's fine, you're working out a lot, you're pushing on the business, you're doing all the right things, but like, dude, you're still drinking. Why are you doing that? I'm like, it's dude, it's just like a way to relax. Like, it's just like, I don't know, it's chill, it's fun. It's like, bro, you're borrowing from future youth, like, happiness, and you're denying yourself building the best body, the best mind, the best business, the best podcast, the best relationships just because of this thing. And he's not saying quit it forever, but in that conversation, he's just saying like, dude, you need to like really, really cut this out completely for a while and really reestablish your relationship with it. And I'm not gonna lie, I felt triggered. I was like, what are you talking about, bro? This is like my one thing that like, I kind of justify using. And yeah, that was a difficult conversation, but it needed to happen because I reevaluated everything and I'm like, you know what? I think he's right. I think I got to pull back on this thing and become the best version of myself. Now, I will say in this 3 weeks, some of the things that have been like super challenging is I'm a very social person and I like to go out and I like to party and I like to have host parties and whatnot. And I've still done that and we just without drinking alcohol. And number one, it's boring. Like I'm not gonna, it's just not fun. It's just not as fun. Number two, you start to notice like the people around you are all drunk and you're not. So you get to see like their inhibitions are lowered. And now they're like kinda looking a little sloppy to you, and you're like, "Am I like that?" It just makes you question everything, and number 2, a lot of people, when you tell them, "I'm just not drinking," they're totally cool, they're supportive, but a lot of other people are like and I didn't think this was gonna happen, but a lot of people are like, "Come on, like, just have a drink, like, come on, bro, don't be X, Y, and Z," and it's like, like why does it bother you that I'm not drinking? It has nothing to do with you, right? But it actually has everything to do with other people because then it's making them have to examine their behavior in that moment, and that makes them feel a certain type of way. So it makes them kind of question, their own habits and their own behavior. And so I'm pretty good at just saying no to that and, staying true to my own decision and whatnot, but man, it makes it a little weird. Like after the second, third time, you're like, dude, or like whoever, like, I'm good. I'm not gonna drink. I'm just not drinking right now. And so, it just kind of makes you also like look at your friendships. It makes you look at, are these really true friends or are these drinking buddies? It also makes you think, okay, well, what do I find fun? If like I thought I like going out and dancing and whatever, but I'm like, do I or did I just enjoy drinking and like letting loose and going crazy? I still don't know the answer to that, but I'm again rebuilding my relationship with this stuff. And I've had to learn different ways to have fun. And so I went on this little retreat a couple weeks ago and that was really challenging for me because I thought that, well, I did a week. I can, maybe have a couple of drinks over the weekend. Like that's not the end of the world. But then I had to, like, really journal and ask myself, like, why? Why do I feel like I need a drink to relax? And, in that journaling and in that, I went on ChatGPT too, and I was prompting a bunch of stuff and going back and forth. It's like I really realized that, like, this is just a thing that allows me to change my state. The physical thing that I could take that changes my state. Similar to when you wake up in the morning and you reach for a cup of coffee, it's because it's changing your state. The same thing with alcohol. And so that was a really difficult weekend for me, but I powered through and I did a bunch of meditation and journaling and breathing exercises. And the thing that I found has just helped me the most, like re-examine this relationship, is just movement and breathing and presence and like sitting with that uncomfortable feeling of like when I just want to have an ice cold beer on a hot day, like, well, first of all, I don't need that. I could have another cold, refreshing drink that isn't poisoning me. But second of all, like I need to move this feeling through my body. And so I did some swimming, I did some exercises, some push-ups, some breathing exercises, whatever. And like it was tough. It was not easy that first week, but then that second week it just got a little bit easier. And I'd gone out to dinners and events and whatever and just said no, just didn't drink. And I'm very proud of myself for getting through those first couple weeks because I think that was the most challenging. And then this past weekend, I went to this place outside of Medellin called Guatapé, and that was really fun. And I went with a bunch of friends. But man, that was another big test, another challenge. But, for this one, I prepared a little bit more for it. I told my lovely assistant slash head of operations, Laura, who's actually sitting here right now as I record this. I told her a few days in advance, I'm like, look, I need some alcohol free tequila. And she found this incredible brand, not affiliated with them in any way, but like I will share the link because this helped me so much. Be able to participate in the drinking without getting drunk. And they also had this gin, this alcohol-free gin, and it has no calories, and it still smelled and kinda tasted like it. And, so I had my tequila soda with lime on the rocks that just didn't have alcohol in it. And I stayed true the whole weekend. I did not drink, and there was a lot of temptation. We went out on the boat, we did so many different things, and it was just I still had fun. It just wasn't the same type of fun. And so, this alcohol thing has been an interesting journey. I don't know how long I'm gonna go. My plan is to do at least 45 days and then re-examine from there how long I wanna go. But that kind of brings me to my next point. How long am I gonna go with this relates to this new challenge that I've taken on with all this extra energy and time that I have. And I'm getting ready for my first amateur fight. Now, I've been saying I've wanted to do this for years, but with all this extra energy that I have, I'm just like, man, let me get in the best shape of my life. Like, why not? And I've been saying I want to do that for years, but why not take it actually very seriously this time? And so with that, and in the city full of temptation and, a place where you could get a shot for like $5 or, a drink for very cheap on every corner of every block, I've decided to kind of go all in on getting ready for a fight. And my plan is to fight in kickboxing at the beginning of January of 2026. I'm very excited to see the person I become in this process. I've been taking the training very seriously. I've been watching every Rocky movie. I've been watching, UFC highlights of some of my favorite fighters. I've been dreaming about it. I've been like kind of getting a little bit obsessed with the idea of putting myself, in battle. And it's something that since I grew up playing American football, I haven't had that competition. I've been really, really craving something beyond just business, beyond just, you know, going to the gym and lifting some weights. Like, I need some kind of competition with real stakes on the line. And so, crazy me, what has more stakes than getting in the ring with another gorilla and fighting, you know? And so, yeah, I'm very, very excited to document this process of training, nutrition, mindset. I've been watching these. I used to make fun of motivational videos, like people just screaming like you need to be better, get up at 4 a.m., this, that, whatever. I used to think that that was like the biggest bullshit, but I've been watching them every single day. Every morning I watch these like David Goggins, Jocko Willink, like crazy motivational montages that have just been firing me up. And it's been incredible for just going to the gym at like 6:37 in the morning. I'm there, no one's there on the mat. It's just me in like kind of that John Jones crawl position with my headphones on, listening to this motivational shit about to train. I just get into that zone, in that mode, and that's been making me a much better leader as well, because once I do that training first thing in the morning, having another grown man try to kick you in the face, nothing else is really that challenging after that. I could kinda deal with anything with ease after that. So between the alcohol and preparing for this fight, dialing in my nutrition, getting to sleep early, all of these things are kind of like related. None of them are happening alone. And so going back to the beginning of the video, just talking about like the spiritual change, like this is all spiritual. It's not just about a fight or not drinking alcohol or whatever. It's about an actual like mental shift that I can feel myself going through. And I don't know if it's because I'm about to turn 30. I don't know if it's, just years of abuse and like neglect on my own body and my own mind, but enough is enough. And I'm just excited to get to that next level. Now, speaking about the next level, I made a previous video about, what getting to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube meant for me. And in that video, I talk about this concept of going pro. And going pro, I mean, I've already talked about it in that other video, but what that means to me right now is every area of life, just treating it like an absolute professional. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I had this moment earlier this week where after 6 years of doing It's Not That Deep, I finally crossed 100 episodes. That was an emotional moment for me because it's like I know where I started, and I started in a tiny attic apartment where I didn't know how to even hit record on a camera. I didn't know about lighting. I didn't know anything about podcasting, editing, anything. And I started and I decided to put out content anyways. And I never stopped, and I'm proud of myself for that. And I'm grateful for having such an incredible audience, and having such an incredible team help me put those episodes out every single week. Now, every single week. Again, that's part of going pro. I wasn't putting them out every single week because it's been 6 years it took me to get to 100 episodes. But I'll tell you right now, it will not take 6 years to get my next 100 episodes. In fact, in the next 6 years, I want to be at 1,000 episodes. And what I'm doing right now represents one of those. And it's it's cool to see. I went through and I got emotional. I was like reading, looking at all of these different conversations I've had with different people who are outliers, who are all, seeking success or achieving success in their own way. And I've had so many incredible conversations with all these people, and the butterfly effect of that has resulted in generating millions of dollars for the business and impacting lives, putting food on the table for many people, including myself and my business partner. Um, Leaving my hometown, traveling the world, making incredible content and building incredible relationships. I mean, that decision in 2019 of putting the podcast out, making It's Not That Deep a reality, it's changed my life and it continues to do so. And I sit here today filled with so much gratitude that I get to do this. I get to document it. and I just wanna keep doing that, and so I know this episode was not very structured, it was just kind of a random collection of thoughts and rants, but I just really wanted to get on here and talk some shit and update whoever is listening to this on the journey. And the number one person I want to update is future me when I look back at this. And if I have kids one day or grandkids one day and they ask, what were you doing when you were 29? I can send them the link to the YouTube video of this is where my head was at when I was 29. And that has always been a big motivator for me. And I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. So I don't really have anything else to talk about. I mean, I could sit here for hours and just talk shit aimlessly, but that's going to conclude this episode of It's Not That Deep. I love you all. Just remember to put out content in some way or shape or form or another. Just do it. Just put out content. And yeah, it's not that deep, baby. I love you all.